As always, thank you all for joining and listening and being a part of the Too Much community. The workbook, the Too Much Workbook, Tools to Build a Life That You Love, is live. You can purchase at deniselovehewitt.com. You can get it at any of the links in my bio. This has been a labor of love built out of my journey of redesigning my life. So I created this 40-page workbook to help you figure out what your blueprint is for your life, not what society tells you to be, not what you thought you should be, really what your soul is here to do, and to figure out how to design a life that's going to bring you a lot of meaning in a really challenging professional landscape. So please check it out. I really appreciate all of you for tuning in, being a part of this journey, and I hope it brings you an immense amount of value.
Is there such a thing as too much luck? Is there such a thing as too much fun? Messing around, wondering how it's taken so long. I'm really so strong. It's not too much at all.
Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. I am here this week with one of my favorite soul speakers, Jon Bates. You may know him as Big Black Delta. Welcome, Jon.
Hey.
For those of you that haven't had the luxury of listening to his music, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jon. Jon is a musician, but after several years in LA fronting bands of his own and a cliched journey with alcoholism, Bates decided to take a break from the industry and started making music under the name Big Black Delta. This was at a time when UFOs were still a stoner campsite conversation killer. The black triangles in the sky are the number one reported types of sightings. It also fits with his obsession with sacred geometry. Making music for people while they figure out their own answers to things or not. I'm Not Your Dad. In his fifth self-produced album, Adonai, Bates says he channeled most of it. I can't explain in words what that means, but its intention is to be of service. I included higher beings, so to say. It's the most ancient greeting I could find. In typical fashion, the record swings in styles, yet it is his most precise work to date. The lyrics aren't supposed to change the world, as it's doing that on its own just fine. I'm just speaking to you as if I was in the room. When asked what is different about this LP, his response was refreshing. Doesn't matter if it brings someone joy. Jonathan is hoping whoever listens to this new collection of songs will find use for them in their life. We are going to be okay. And that is just like the best summation of why I have you here today.
Thanks, bud. Yeah.
So I want to start at the very beginning before talking about your creative process. I want to know what even called you to be a musician in the first place.
I was bad at sports. I grew up in a very archetypal for the 80s and 90s Latin kind of household, right? So boys were supposed to be, and play sports, and I just, buddy, I can't. I'm not physically graceful. So around 11, my dad gently was like, "We need to find what you're good at." And he always he was a horrible athlete, and he was an artist and a musician and an architect. So I was like, well, let's do your kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so it started out playing guitar just to be good at something because I wasn't at anything. I don't think I really started listening to music for fun until I was like 20 or 21. So I spent like all my teenage years learning how to shred and doing like real math rock kind of things. And that was fun. Well, that's about it.
So you learned how to play in a vacuum, essentially, without any sort of outside influence, and then you let in, like, learned a musical vocabulary, I guess. Like,
Okay, so yeah, without sounding cliche, and I'm going to because of my age at this point, so forgive me. But in the late 80s and the 90s, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have anything, right? And so, like, especially in Miami, which is at the bottom of Florida, right? So bands never came down there because to tour, it costs so much money. You have to drive for 8 hours all the way down, and you know what I mean? And so bands never came. You just got what you got, how you got it. And also, I was very awkward, and I ended up having cystic. I mean, it's really cliche shit, but in high school, I got cystic acne, right? So the kind that like I was getting cortisol injections in my face. You can still kind of see the scars of it, but it was so bad that meanwhile at the same time I got kicked out of a high school and got thrown into this other one, right? So it was like this baptism of fire where it was like, well shit, I'm just going to sit in my room, listen to music, and learn what they're doing, you know? And
Mhm.
so it wasn't, again, until I left the house and went to music school in Boston. And then I got there, and there was like 100,000 long-haired dudes named John playing seven-string guitars, and they all shredded. And I saw that, and I was like, "That's cool. I don't need to do this anymore." And then
Mm.
that's when I started listening to music, listening to it, not in a male way. Like, we can get into this conversation of like, I need to do something with this as I'm listening to it, but more of a feminine field of like, oh, let this just wash on me, right? And so, beginning in my 20s, it was like learning how to think of music as not a tool to show people or validate myself, to show people how cool I am and worthy of sticking around. It ended up being my source of comfort, and it was such a cool switch. I think I was around 21 or something like that.
Did you find that that process of how to shred, then becoming a listener, as you started to create your own sound, do you think that was essential? Because I think a lot of musicians are
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to be other musicians.
Super lucky in that sense. Again, because I was born in that time. And then I went to music school for a while. I learned composition, I learned some of the math. And this is what you were talking about, sacred geometry. Because what's really, really fucking cool is, shapes, math, music, it's all the same shit. So the same things that work in our physical world actually work in mathematical sense and make people happy, so to speak. You can make certain chords and make people sad. You can really control the room. And in different times, it would have been considered magic, you know?
Mhm.
So learning technicality first, at least for me, it was great because at this point in my career, if I hear something in my head or playing guitar, I can communicate it immediately. I can get it out
Mm.
immediately and not. And all of us that are creators, it's the feeling. You get the inception, you go through whatever it is, and then you end up wherever you end up. Very rarely where you end up is where you initially intended to go. You know, learning a little bit of the language, so to speak, the math of it all helps you get there faster. And to me, that helps because the brevity, that's the male side. The female side gets to decide whether or not is this even good, right? It's a very dual process. You have this dude that's like, make it, I make it, and then somebody's like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not right.
Mm.
And that took me a long time to figure out as well.
The refinement.
Well, no, just learning my process is, we were talking about this the other day. My process is involving all the archetypes,
Mhm.
but just involving them at the right moment.
But you said something to me in that conversation around, you make the thing and you have to stay there before the ego walks in or comes in and tries
Yeah.
to take over the situation. Can you explain that more to me? I find that really interesting as a creative person. As I think all creative people, we all really deeply struggle with our ego when we make things. So, how do you even stay there before your ego shows up?
By submitting to the fact that it's never left, right? This is the
Mm.
conversation of the archetypes that I'm talking about. And what helped with me is in meditation, having a conversation with each of these parts of me, right? So the ego being like, I know why you're doing this. You want to protect us because we've been hurt, and I want love. And you're the guy to go to get that done, right? But this right now is for fun and for me and for health. And so I need you just to sit on the couch while us kids just get to make stuff, right? It's
Mhm.
kind of like if you were watching children play, you wouldn't interject and be like, you're playing wrong,
Right.
right? If they're having a good time, great, right? So
Right.
it's literally that same conversation to yourself because, like, I don't believe we are monads. I don't believe we're monolithic. There's one personality. I mean, it could change depending on hormones that day. It could pay what you ate, you know, all these
Right.
things. And so it's again submitting to these people, spirits. Are you familiar with the Jungian archetypes? Well,
I
even
am
simpler
familiar a
than
little bit, but let's give like a primer for the audience who may not be as
let's skip that and just go even easier. Everybody's familiar with astrological signs, right? the
Yeah.
12 zodiacs. Those are archetypes, right? We use them every day in memes, right? I'm a Taurus, and I really am a homebody, and I really am loyal, and I've never cheated on anybody. You know what I mean? It's like, that this is because is it because I'm me, or is it because I was born in a certain thing? I think it's kind of both now. You know, so these archetypes, for the longest time, we've all believed that they came out of third degree 3D into matter, into intelligence, and then like human beings are like this, right? And where Jungian archetypes say is that, or where Jung went, and a lot of where Hinduism goes, and a lot of places, is that consciousness, the great one consciousness, what people would call God, whatever, is the basic thing. And then came archetypes, and then came matter in a third degree, in a third dimension, so to speak. So that like archetypes are baked into everything, into all reality. And those 12 zodiacs, instead of just me being a Taurus, there's days that I'm a Scorpio. I'm gonna
Hmm.
burn everything up. There's days that I'm Libra where I'm like, yeah, there's days that I'm Aries and I just don't give a shit what's behind me and I'm just having a good time in front of me, right? And submitting to that, that is the universe that we live in, that there is some truth to astrology, not the like crystal Karen astrology that lets you get away with things because I'm just a baddie, like that kind of shit. It's fun, but if you get into, and it's not that hard to get into the real kind of shit, it's actually fascinating because what it'll do is validate how mercurial we all are,
Right. Right.
and how like Western society beats you up for being like, you gotta be one thing, you gotta be good at it, and you gotta do, and it's just like you're not that. You're the universe experiencing itself, and that's definitely not one fucking dope on Earth.
I find the one thing very hard, and I understand that it's most people, it's hard to contextualize the multitudes we all possess. Like, it's very hard for most people to hold more than one thing at once.
But
But
they're doing
in,
it anyway. That's the thing, is like
right,
you might not intellectually get it, but you're doing it.
right, as a human, you're doing it. But I think in the world where like my career at this point, I think is just a really big adventure and curiosity. And I'm just following the threads that I find interesting. And they all relate in the universe of Denise. But I think when we're told to market ourselves this way, or this is the product, or this is how you have to make your life, I find that part to be frustrating because I'm like, why can't I be more than one thing?
Well, because you got to remember that the person that's telling you that is usually attached to financing, and it's some financing bro that works at some air conditioned
Right.
nightmare of a place where a bunch of them that have never done anything in their lives are using AI to figure a way to commodify some new human experience that's always been free. So, of course, they're going to tell you to do something horrible like, you got to do, right? And it's just like, no, I mean, yeah, if you want to make them money, and you get but the thing is that all that stuff is fleeting. Like, I have like maybe 6,000 followers on Instagram, but when I play a show, it sells out wherever I go, right?
Right.
So like these things don't necessarily translate into the real world. Listen, like, I don't know anybody that remembers agreeing to coming here, right? Nobody does. So like, you're here. Who the fuck is anybody to tell you what to do and how to fucking do it? It's good if you're looking for help and you're open to it. But if Denise wants to be 12 things today, good, because you're God expressing herself. You should, and nobody tells God what to do. Now, I'm not saying that if you got to make ends meet and you got to pay your taxes on time, do that only because it makes your life easier. And I'm not saying be
Right.
irresponsible, but a lot of us have a hard time being our true creative selves because we're just afraid for legitimate reasons. The world is fucking mean. It's
Right.
really mean now, or maybe it's always been
Yeah.
this
Really
mean,
mean.
but the volume is really attached, and nobody wants to get hurt. Fuck, even the
Yeah.
guys like those Andrew Tates or whatever, those bros that like, are just sad examples of consciousness. They wouldn't be like that if they were raised in a completely loving, understanding environment. I believe that 95%.
It's the kindest way to put it, the saddest expression of consciousness.
For now, yeah,
Yeah.
because everybody has their place, unfortunately. And I was telling you this about my honest view on Earth is that it's a soul training school.
Yeah.
So we need quote unquote assholes here in order for us to sharpen our decision making. And you're here to really figure out who I am as a soul. Now, the best way to do that in my mind is by trying 12 things in one
Right.
day, as opposed to just sitting there and being like, I'm gonna be really good at getting followers. Why? Well, because I need
Right.
followers. Why? Because I need the income. Why? Because if I don't have income, I can't eat. Ah, now we're getting to it. You're afraid
Right.
of going hungry. Let's take, there's a million ways to take care of that problem that doesn't involve putting your dignity on the chopping block. I'm
Right.
talking to myself, by the way. I'm not telling you how to do this, but this is like, these are the things that I have to remind myself every day is that, like, I'm at that age now that, like, I'll go hungry, but I'll die on an empty stomach, but my heart will be full of dignity, and I'd rather have that. Not that there's a choice to that, but like, there's. By the way, we live infinitely, so there's no rush. This is just a shell for your soul. So, like, I'm not. I'm 47, I think. Yeah, 47 now. It helps being this age. I can say that. I don't think I'd be able to do this at 19 right now.
I don't think I could have this conversation at 19 either. I look at like, we're essentially what we're talking about. Like when we talk about these things that people are chasing, the sort of shiny object syndrome of life, and what are those fears underneath it? What is that hunger? It's really a lot of it is a scarcity ego mentality. And so that's at the core of it. I mean, I have the same conversation with myself, right? All the time. We were talking about
Good.
this a couple weeks ago because I'm like definitely struggle with size of impact and, what I want my career to look like. And I have to work through that and be like, really at the core of the work, my job is just to do the work, create the work, and then I don't get to decide how it's received, where it goes. I just have to keep creating because that's the job of a creator.
And this is where I've hijacked the word faith from religious people. Because when I say faith to you, immediately we think of like Christian rock or some shit like that. And this is my Gnostic faith is that if you're staying true to you, the universe will put a cushion under you. If you're staying true to you and who you are is like a balanced and a service to other people, I find the universe really does take care of you. And that's faith,
Yeah.
right? And what's great about that is if you can submit to that, then you have all that free time to do whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean? It's not faith in like something's going to take care of me as a god or whatever. Is that things will work out?
Yeah.
Not all the time. I mean, trust me, I have the scars.
But work out in a straight line, but they do
Never.
tend to work out.
That's part of learning how to accept it. Is accepting that shit just goes the way it wants to. And if you can, the trick is to surf it, not swim against it.
Yes.
Right? You can get to shore so
Yep.
fucking fast and you can look great while doing it too. If you know how to surf it right fucking in. I gotta hate cliches and I know what I look like right now, but it's like in service of a bigger thing, I guess, which is like you got to surf those moments. And I'm learning how to do that right now too. It usually requires doing nothing.
Well, they all the waves are
It really,
different.
and it requires not doing much, and that's where we all get really fucked up because you get scared, and the first thing you do is I got to do a million things to temper this fear, and I've just started to go like, whatever's coming, come and get me. I'm just gonna sit here in silence and or
Trust.
not. I mean, if it's my time for something really bad to fucking happen, all right, fine. Again, it's like the fuck. You're gonna bother me on lunch break? All right, let's do it. Let's get it over with.
Oh
You
my
know,
god.
who died now? What sickness do I fucking have? It's like that kind of thing where it's just like, okay. Again, really believing
Right.
that you don't die and that the soul is eternal and that this is just one tiny little thing of infinite experiences that you're gonna fucking have really helps. I don't think you can
Yeah.
inhabit this
Well,
mind frame if you only believe in three dimensions and going through space time, which is the fourth. If that's
yeah.
it for you, it's going, at least for me, it led to alcoholism, all the isms.
You talked about living in alignment with your truth. I want to go back to this because really at the core, that's what this podcast is about, is like how can you live your most true life?
One, accepting that none of us in the West have a healthy example.
100%.
So
100%.
you'll spend all this time looking for somebody to show you things because that's how we are. And then we all walk away kind of subconsciously like, oh, that was bullshit, and that's part of it is that you're going to have to find your own way. And the first thing you're like, God fucking damn it. Really? And it's just like, yeah. But the inverse is that there's no rush, right? There really isn't anybody judging you.
No, and your blueprint is uniquely yours. And so as I figured out my version of misalignment, going after what I thought society wanted of me to moving into a space where I'm doing what makes me happy, my little 4 steps that I created for myself are like intuition. Your intuition is your best fucking friend. Get to know your intuition deeply because that is such a internal north star that can allow you to understand what is right and what is wrong. Number 2, stop chasing shiny objects, chase joy. What's joyful for you? Number 3, connect to something bigger than you. Your purpose as a human is to be of service, and we all have a unique gift to give. And the last one is integration. Like you integrate those steps, and then you have this amazing internal barometer because you will get out of alignment. That is like the bit of life is that your job is to get yourself back into a zone where you're operating because life will throw you off, hence riding the waves.
And paradoxically, at the same time, allowing yourself to go out of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when you feel yourself doing it, as opposed to be like, fuck, just being like, it's happening again. What am I gonna learn this time? It's funny with alcoholism. It's like, at any moment I could start drinking and I could do it and nobody would know. I'm really good at that. And you have these moments where you're just like, well, I could. Got nothing else going on today and all these other things. And my tools are simple. They're really simple. It's not anything above. I just remind myself of a hangover. Well, because it's just I think I fucked my liver up so bad that like even if I were to have a beer, it's like 3 days of the hangover. Yeah, that kind of thing where it's just like,
Oh my God.
right. And I'm like, this is a moment. This is going to pass. I can't afford 3 days of just laying around getting super stoned to get over whatever lactic acid I'm like fucking trying to get out of my body. And is it holy? Is it a holy trick? Am I being better than the universe? No, I'm just doing what I can to get through it at that fucking moment because like that's
Right.
Earth. We talked about this. If you ever go on YouTube and watch Hell Week for Navy SEALs, not that I'm pro army or any fucking thing. It's just that these guys are kept awake for 5, 6 days in the Pacific Ocean, completely wet, carrying these logs that are 1 ton, and then get thrown back in the ocean. They come back and sit in sand, and they're like, you watch it, and you're like, wow, this is fucking fun to watch, but oh my god, like what the fuck? And that's what your light, the thing, the Malkovich behind the Malkovich that's running your suit, it came down here for that. It came down here
Right.
for that, and whatever version of it is. So I'm not saying that you need to go out and suffer in order to do what your soul came here to do. You're only going to know what your soul came here to do, I find, through silence. Whatever
Mm,
that means to you. That means like me putting an eye mask on
yeah.
this and just sitting there until time goes away and until John sheds away. And then there's this thing that's like, this is who we came here to be. And it's like, okay, cool, thanks.
Right.
And I'm also saying that, like, if you just want to fuck off your whole existence here, do it. Be, just be kind to you. Just be kind to don't resent. That's the other thing. It's like most of us are like, I don't want to be a loser. I did an exercise where I was like, whoa, be the loser. Let's see what that's like. And it's not any fucking different than being the winner or anything else. It's still you, just adapting math to certain situations.
Right. I would argue though that the difference is one is more internally fulfilling, not like being a winner, but like I think being a loser versus finding what fills up your soul. I have to believe there's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm unfortunately one of those guys that has to hit rock bottom before it was like, "Oh, now that we've hit complete rock bottom, you've got nothing to lose. What is it that you wanna do here? Because you're not gonna kill yourself, at least I'm not." So it's like, "Oh, we're fucking
Right.
stuck. This is a prison." It doesn't have to be, so, like, that's where I have to
Boundaries.
fucking hit in order to get this, you know what I mean? And I hate that. I wish it was easier, but at least I got here. And as you and I and most of probably your listeners will agree on, is that there's a lot of human beings on this planet that are nowhere near, not that word awake, but just of what we're capable of
Right. Our capacity.
internally, right? So you don't need a pastor, you don't need a rabbi, a pope, you don't need a man. All these people are dudes for the most part. It's like, I'll tell you, I'm not letting any man tell me what to fucking do. From an objective soul place, my soul that's looking down, it's like it would never let a human being tell me, like, because we're all just blinded, down here. That's part of the gig. So it's like, find your definitions out inside. I mean, that's people say inside that way, but it helps when you're meditating, because when you try to go outside of yourself to find answers, that's when things take advantage of you. That's when you give into
Well,
ego.
you won't find the answers. I mean, truly, you're the only person that can decide what is right for you, and that's why your intuition is so important because no one else is you. No one else has your unique fingerprint on, like, why you're here in this world,
They
and I would
can't
argue
give you
that
definitions. They can't, and then when they do, and
no.
you take them to heart for the most part, you're going to suffer.
Yeah, and what I learned in my process was conversations and feedback were important, but they were important for my intuition to discern what felt right in my body and what felt wrong. So like advice it can be helpful. It's your job to discern like that resonates, that's real for me or that's true for me. So I'm going to then listen to that versus I think I've said this on this podcast before, but there was a moment where I thought I wanted to be a Broadway producer and I met this like big Broadway producer and he was like, "Do not do this. It's a hobby until it's a job. Don't do this." And never in my life had I listened to somebody that said, "Don't do this." But I listened to him and I was like, he's right. I was like, I'm not doing this because it felt right in my body. And then I was like, I'm going to pivot and be a TV producer instead. But it was interesting because I remember that time being like, I'm actually heeding his advice, which I thought was so funny because knowing me, that's so rare. But I was like, it feels true for me.
Right. Discernment, right? It's not that Denise
Hmm.
never listens to anybody's advice. It was that Denise went through
No.
a lot to learn that I shouldn't listen to everybody's fucking advice, because it's like, look, ugh, and it's discernment. And that's like why you're here, is to learn how to discern.
Hmm.
I would love to have what were you using? Not instinct, intuition. Uh,
Yeah.
I had blanketed my intuition with so many insecurities over 40 years of
Yeah.
shit like that, that it's still the tiniest little meow of a voice. You know what I mean? It atrophied, so to speak. And so, like, everything I do now is in
Hmm.
service of trying to get that little guy to come out of the shell to be like, it's okay. No one's going to jump you.
Well, that's right. It's a muscle. I think this is a really good point.
Yeah.
So I believe intuition is the honed version of instinct. It's the conscious definition of instinct.
Same word.
So
Yeah.
when we're younger, we run on instinct. And then as we learn to develop our intuition, which is like an internal intelligence, it gets laser sharp. I'm someone who was in my body a lot because I was a dancer. So being in my body helped with instinct. And then the more I listened to it, the more I collected a lot of life data. So then it became intuition. And now I'm actually in awe of how accurate it is. Like sometimes I'll be like, I pinpointed that knowing nothing, just like trusting my intuition and the energy. And that I find fascinating. It's saving
And
me a
to
lot of time
fry
currently.
your noodle, another term for intuition is like
Facts.
minority, like we're evolving into telepathic beings kind of thing. And I just have a little quirk to say, that which is like, you were born a woman on this planet. There's no way you made it to this age without having to get your intuition to a functional fucking place. You would have,
But I would also argue
you
that
know,
women, because there's so much feedback on who they should be and how they should behave in society, a lot
and
of people turn off their
people prey on them.
right. Yeah.
since the beginning of fucking time. You know, it's like have you ever seen that National Geographic of the lizard being born in a snake pit? It's like somewhere in like Australia. And it's this beautiful, they shoot it beautifully. This lizard comes out, and all of a sudden, these black vipers come from down the rock, and this lizard's just like, oh, fuck. And it's just hit the earth. And it's got to run up these things, and it's got to run and zig and zag and do all this shit. And it's just gotten awake. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, not to sound like that fucking dude. I don't give a shit. Call me whatever. But if you're born a chick on this planet, there's kind of a thing to that where it's like you are hitting this earth and you're immediately preyed on. So,
Well, there's a different level of hyper awareness you have to have from a safety perspective for sure,
fuck
like
yeah.
bodily awareness.
Fuck yeah.
Um, but I think that is different than intuition because I have a lot of friends who are hyper aware of their surroundings or safety. But when it comes to their internal compass, professionally or personally, that is like yours. Like they're still learning to trust that voice and that they can trust what they're telling themselves versus what other people are telling
I
them.
mean, you could have the best instrument, but if you don't know how to use it, it's fucking useless. So it's like, I mean, I could have the most expensive guitar on the planet on my wall, but if I don't know how to play it, it's just taking up fucking space. And I firmly believe that a lot of us have those instruments hanging on our walls. It's just like, A, believing that, in fairness to whoever's listening to this, as soon as you were born, everybody was telling you you ain't shit. You're never going to be shit. You just fucking suck. And if nobody did that to you, you did it to yourself, guaranteed. Like, so it's good. It's not easy, man. It is so not easy. Have you seen? Remember that ending in Step Brothers with Will Ferrell and that other guy when they try to hug and they just don't know how to fucking hug because it's just so awkward. And it's
Yeah.
just like that's how it is for me with my own self. Because there's be a part of me that's like, no, no, you got to hug this guy, and there'll be a guy in the back of my head that goes like a fucking 13-year-old boy, and I'll be like, oh my
Yeah.
god, who's doing this to me? And I know that I'm
Yeah.
not the only one that has these things where it's, to be fair to all of us, it was just, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's just part of the
Right.
package deal here on Earth. Like,
Well, well, it's exactly what you're saying. It's like learning to be loving to all parts of yourself. So telling your inner intuitions, like, we're safe now. You can tell me what you think. You don't have to speak up.
yeah, and then even then that's an argument because then another voice will come in and be like, "How you going to protect us?" And I'm like, I mean, if we're really honest about these things that interject in your head, you're just like, well, and it, again, it helps to be like, I'm eternal.
Right.
And then your body relaxes and you realize you're above those archetypes. You're watching those archetypes. They're not controlling you. You're watching to decide. I was born a Taurus, but today I'm going to be Libra.
Right.
That's the one fucked up thing about this place is the free will concept. According to like all the aliens and shit, and I'm going to spare you all that. There are only a few in the three dimension. There's only a few planets that have free will in the third dimension. In the other planets, you're born with your past lives embedded. It doesn't. You're a lot cooler and easier to be with, and like you've given this gift of free will. Just understand it's okay that you're gonna fuck your day.
Oh, learn.
Uh, Free will, yeah. And when people like Sam Altman or Elon Musk or any of these dudes try to commodify your free will, no,
No.
no.
So, can I ask? I have two questions. One of your tools in your toolkit is synesthesia.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something. It right. That's. Did you ever see Fantasia as a
Yeah,
kid?
duh. Of course.
Okay, it's I've learned to use it that way. So I
Wow.
have fun just doing like that, but in the head. So like if you were to watch me on the outside or whatever, it's just a guy in silence, but in my head. Uh, and then you lay it down. Thankfully, because of computers and things like that, you can lay it down pretty quick, or whatever. And so that's fun because it's better than sitting down and being like, I got to write a hit for Taylor Swift did it.
Right.
So I need a rhyme, I need a verse, chorus, verse, whatever, you know what I mean? Which is cool. I'm not banging it. I've done things that you guys will never know, like that. But again, if you live eternally and you want to have dignity with that experience, I usually revert back to an 8-year-old that's like da 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 and the gonna be the sheep and all the songs come out because that's what 8-year-olds do. They
Right.
sing about their cat and I've got to do. I mean, how many songs have you sung to your dog today that came out of nowhere, right? And you might think they're dumb, but I guarantee you put like a fucking silly beat behind it and it's like, oh shit. And it's like I'm from uh and it's so fun to be part of, you know, and so when you're writing music, I'm painting at the same time. Or if I'm painting, I'm writing music at the same time. So it's cross collateralization, cross pollination of processes, right? So let's say you're going to sit down and write, and you're going to work on a memoir, right? I would recommend, if you're going to talk about a certain period of smell, that was part of that time. And you will be right there, you know. So like let's say that you were at 13, you discovered patchouli. God bless your ass, right? So it's like you want to talk about the time that you were going through puberty or as a teenager, put on some patchouli, and that cross senses, that smell will help put you in the zone of that moment. And now you won't have to spend energy summoning the moment. You can spend your energy describing it.
Yeah.
And you've just saved yourself a lot of energy. Summoning is hard. Ooh,
Really
bro,
hard.
it's so hard. But if you can shortcut it through certain things like smell, sound, paint, touch, food, serve you if you want them to, and having fun with that. And I had to learn that on my own because you don't, there's no music class or anybody that's talking about like, so what did your room smell like when you were writing this?
I think with synesthesia, you have a higher intelligence in terms of your perception to begin with.
Oh, absolutely. So you know, we're down here at the spindling tree. There's a one being running this entire show. I call that maybe an oversoul or whatever. I don't know. Who gives a shit? Call it Susan. But like it's the one that's looking down there. And in silence, you can teleport your consciousness to the top of that and look down, so to speak. And so that you could be like, I am tired of being that. And there's just tricks, you know, Buddhists and Hindu call it meditation, whatever that means to you, by the way. So I'm not saying you should sit on a pillow and go, that's just what worked for people thousands of years ago because they didn't have technology. If going for a walk with your dog takes you into a place that is not Denise, it's just presence and love, that is meditation. You know, that's why I love animals so much. And my like basically my all my Instagram feed is just like rescues and dogs and pigs and porcupines and donkeys and things like that because it brings that joy. I get fucking joy immediately looking at that. That has nothing to do with sex appeal, with making it, with being in the world, being in fucking now. And these are the things as I find that they what you're doing is your job is making yourself feel good without drugs. That's what it is learning how to like, and not in a corny way, you know, like standing in front and being like, you know, you matter, John. It does nothing for me. You know what I mean? Getting somebody to tell me that, like, you know, you're a really good musician does nothing for me. None of that. You should experience it because, but like, what you'll find is that it's empty calories, and ultimately, you're the one.
Think
And
everyone's brain is different. So, like, over 60 days of you looking in the mirror and telling yourself something, you might feel different, right? That's neuroplasticity.
and go and do it. And I did. I tried it, and it just like
Didn't work. But this is
all it did, it made me, to be honest, like I just like because I started roasting myself, and I was like, God, these are good. Maybe I should do it this fucking way. But like, I don't know. I'm not your dad.
no, but
Seriously,
that's
like
what I think
nobody
is
can tell you.
that's the point is that, like, everyone has a different modality to pull from, and people have different tools that work for them, which is so much of what
Yeah.
we're trying to showcase is, like, there is no one way to do this.
Buffet, try them all out, and you know, keep the ones that are corny and keep the ones that aren't. And what's really going to fry your noodle is that what worked when you were 33 is not going to work when you're 45. And so then you're like, oh, this shit just keeps going. It's like, yeah, like you're always learning, and that's fun as fuck. It doesn't have to be a painful thing,
No, it is really
you
fun. I
know,
think once you start
super
approaching
fun.
work from a lens of fun and curiosity, it does get really fun because then the things that aren't working become mental challenges. They're like, I have to figure out how to make this work and I'm not quite sure. And either you take a break and you channel it later, which I want to talk about your process for channeling in a second, or you think about it for a bit and you sort of figure it out like a puzzle. And I find whatever the approach is, because I'm no longer on this self-imposed timeline that I was on for years and years and years of my life. It's like
Right.
I don't need to solve it today, which 7 years ago I had to solve it today. Today I'm like this thing will become whenever it's meant to become. I am only here to like steward it and be available.
Facilitate it.
Yeah. So can you talk about your process for channeling?
Okay, it's most of the work was shutting down the one that was like that part of me that was like, what this, what are we, you fucking nerd, you know, what are you, a star seed? Like, you know, like this kind of, and instead of like shutting him down, I was like, you're right, you know, and it's, I mean, it's just release. It's just, and I guess, like, I hate this word praying, but I guess it's praying. It's saying out loud, I would like to be a vessel to those around me because I think, and help me, at least for me, it was like, help me be of service for this moment that's happening on earth. Okay, I got to tell you, as I'm believing this and deciding this is what I'm going to do, that guy staying on the side being like, fuck this, and walks away. And I'm like, that's cool. You're allowed to be like, this is, because he's like, people are going to laugh at you. Listen to these lyrics. They're going to be like that. And then the other guy came in and was like, honestly, no one's going to listen to anything because nobody gives a shit. And I was like, thank you. That's the real truth. You can go have a corn dog. I'm going to have channeling these, again, I hate these words, angels, I guess. I don't know. And then just being simply like that. And it takes practice because you're even, I should go to this chord. I want to make them feel this here. I should do this. Well, you know, if I really want to get the room to do this, I should do this. And that, like, that's hard to fight versus like, no, today's, you know, you want to rock and roll today, but now all of a sudden this fucking,
This is the thing. You have to be available to what's coming in, and it's sometimes very inconvenient. Like, this is the thing about intuition.
always.
So for me, when I was writing my original book and then it was like not the book, and I was like, I can force this book, but I know internally this is not the book. And it was so
No, voice
inconvenient.
memo is really important. Voice memo apps are really important because all of this happens to everybody. You're this close to sleep. You're in that weird Florida state. And at least me, I'll hear complete fucking peace like it's a radio station that's just coming in. And then the other guys in my head are like, wait a minute, I've never heard this before. Can we keep this? You know, like, oh my God. And then the rest of me is like,
Must sleep.
no, I'll remember tomorrow. I'll remember tomorrow. And then I'll wake up and never, right? And I've had that infinite amount of times now that I'm just like, I get up now.
I do the same thing. I wake up
But
in the middle
like,
of the night and I write it down and then I'll go back to sleep.
and you know what's funny is 90% of that shit when you look back on it, you're like, and it's like, but you know, that's your job. That's what you're here to do. And if that's as bad as it gets, then fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I
But some of it's been my most
think, yeah,
astute takeaways. I'm like, this is good. Like my keynote I did on inequity and venture capital, the best part of it came from waking up in the middle of the night and writing it down.
yeah. And that takes humility and learning that you're just a tiny little speck in this process that is
I'm
Denise.
just a little vessel.
No, I mean, there's the vessel, there's the light, there's the archetypes, there's the electromagnetic waves and the neutrinos coming from the sun and the information coming from the center of the galaxy. There's the literal trillion bacteria that are working in unison inside of your body. How infinite number of peptides and proteins walking around. You've got, you know, like, so it's like this, you are a universe within yourself. And we all need to start focusing more on that. Because when you realize your universe walking in with yourself, you don't need to buy anything. You don't need help. You're just like, I'm just a self-contained fucking unit. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's happening now on Earth. That's why we're seeing the worst of the worst expunge themselves and show themselves in the next 40 years is going to be that 10. But where we're heading is nations built on what you're talking about, laws built on what you're talking about, people treating each other on what you're talking about, dignity not being a commodity anymore, being an absolute fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, I think you'll be alive for that. I hope not to be, fucking tired, and sleep can't help this kind of
Oh,
tiring.
man. Well, maybe you'll find juice in the next 10.
Like, when you really let go, which is where all this leads to, even the alien shit, if you do all the alien shit and you go all the way up to the tree and all this other stuff, it all comes to spirituality.
Yeah.
Because all the real like high level Q and something like they all believe spiritual. We're talking about dimensional things here. And to the point that maybe in 40 years we're gonna have technology to talk to our past friends and things like that. Because like I said, you don't go anywhere. It's just your body that shells.
Mhm.
And you know what they've proven? They've proven this is that the caterpillar transfers the memories of the caterpillar to the butterfly. Now you would think because the caterpillar turns into goo. It like literally turns into slime and then gets reconstituted into a completely new physical being. But it carries all the lessons it learns. So it still stays away from
Mm.
certain flowers. And so that it was really great is because butterflies are horrible. And it's like I like to find truth in adorable fucking things like butterflies, which is like you don't die. You don't die. You don't die. And that what do you make
Right.
when you're eternal? What do you want to make? What do you want to do today? So if I'm eternal and I don't want to do anything today, I'm going to be like, fine, I'm not going to do anything because I've got tomorrow, and or I'm eternal. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start that doily company, doilies, and I love knitting doilies, and I'll only make 3 a year, sell them for $40, and I'll cover it.
Yes, but this is it. That's exactly right, John. If we are eternal and took away every material concern we have currently living in this world right now, what does
And nothing is insignificant.
what
So
does your
doing
soul want to
something like
do?
collecting, right? Like so, then it becomes that it means that like collecting stamps is just as important than saving people in an ER room because it's all just experience
It's all what
chosen.
you are here to bring, and you are here to bring something special and unique to you. And so, whatever your offering is to the greater collective, doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's really true to you. And that's it.
And it'll take care of it. And usually everything takes care of itself. Where people find difficulties. Usually, if you're having a bad time and you're angry, you got to ask your ego, where is this coming from? 9 out of 10 times as entitlement.
Yeah.
I put this amount of work on. So usually, if you can get rid of the entitled guy, not get rid of him, but like have
This is a cue I probably took from you at some point, was like naming all the ugly stuff, just like really naming it. And the more you name it, the less power the ugly stuff has because you're looking at it and you're naming it. So when I had really ugly emotions surfacing, I was like, you know what? I'm feeling bitter. I'm feeling jealous. I'm feeling resentment. I'm just going to name it and look at it. And it metamorphosizes like the caterpillar.
right from it. You learned from the moment, you took it back in, and that's not to say it's not going to happen
It totally
again.
can
It's just
happen
going to
again. It
happen in a
happens all
different
the
way.
time, but you're like,
But so this, like medieval times, they were talking about alchemy. It was not taking literal piss and turning it into gold, which is what alchemy was. These guys would piss in jars and it would turn into these heart. Anyway, what it is taking a shit fucking moment and learning from it and then walking away from it a better person is the alchemy. That's like, again, you're practicing magic when you're doing it. As uh, I read your script, I didn't like it. And allowing yourself to be like, oh God, that fucking hurts because it hurts. There's no choice. It hurts. Allowing that. Being let down. Of course, honey, I'm sorry. I know you wanted to win. You all want to win. And the only way that goes away is by letting that moment happen. Don't be real though, not on other people. You should like it. You should like it. Why don't people like my shit?
Right.
There's a lot more people that don't like my shit or don't care than they do, and it's like, what are you gonna do, Moses? Are you gonna part the sea? No,
But also
just
doesn't
fucking deal with it. Like,
it doesn't matter because your job is to meet the people that are meeting you. Your job isn't to try and meet everybody.
and even before that, the job is to meet yourself and
Yeah.
do the thing that you're here to do, and then have the faith that we're talking about to be like, that's enough. That's enough, little guy. Go have yourself some pie and watch did good today. Am I ever going to sell out Madison Square Garden? I don't really give a shit anymore. I wanted a time ago, and I used to be embarrassed of that. And it's like listening to that out loud. I'm like, wow, that sounds like a lot of work, but you were like, that sounds like a lot of things. You wanted something, but were embarrassed about it. And
No, that
so
is a
where were
lot.
you in the middle of it? And then you're just like, I don't know if I really care. Okay, well, let's just do that.
Yeah, release the shiny objects. I
Your audience is probably more female. I want to say that like I'm having a male experience, so like 50%, because if I was a woman, which would be different.
We need all language. This is where I'm at is we need to meet each other, period. Like men,
Or
women. Part of why I wanted you on the pod is because I value your lens, your view of the world, your experience, and we need to hear those from everybody because that's how we're going to meet in a place of connection. And I feel like we're living in such a disconnected state and people aren't hearing each other. And the opportunity we have right now is to hear each other and take away the anger, the shame. And just like, as you said, when you were 20 years old and you just listen to music, that's our job right now is to really listen.
and there's nothing to it. It's so easy to do, there's just all the other people in your head that are like, you just gotta chill.
Exactly.
It's really hard to tell somebody in the West you don't do anything. It's anti everything we see in movies. It's anti what your parents told. Try it.
The stillness gives so much. It was very painful. It was very painful
Try it.
to figure out, but it gives.
It is. It is. It's only painful because you're going through withdrawals. As an expert in withdrawals, and I can tell you, I'm addicted to my phone. Just so I'm no fucking saint when it comes to that. But that feeling that you're feeling when you're like, oh, I got it. It's the same one I had when I was going through DTS from alcohol, and I literally couldn't control my body, and I was seeing things in the corner, and I was dying. Just so you know, everybody, that is the same family of what the phone is doing to you. So all of us, including Jon Bates, could do with 50% less checking things. It's impossible for me right now because of this war and because every day is a new paradigm in America.
Yeah.
And my curiosity, and there's a part of me that's like addicted to this stress and that like I really resent. If you can start, the easiest thing to do and the hardest thing to do is give yourself 5 minutes when you wake up. Start with five. Just don't grab the phone. Either lay there in bed or start making your coffee. If you have a pet, thank God, because you focus on them immediately because they're ready to eat.
They're ready to go out. They're ready to go
So,
out to the bathroom.
so go out to like that. Do not take your phone. I please just try it for 1 week.
I walk 10 minutes to my Pilates studio once, twice a week. And what I realized was, because I used to drive there, it's a 2-minute drive from my house. And I was working.
Walk's
Well, I
important.
walk 10 minutes. It has changed my entire life. And I'm a big walker, so I walk all the time. But there's something about this 10 minutes to my studio and my routine and back that has fundamentally, I'm like, I don't think I can ever move. I think I have to live in like walking distance from this studio for the rest of my life. I am so in love with those 10 minutes. And I don't know how to explain that to anybody other than like, I am a transformed person.
And I'll tell you why is because for that 10 minutes, you know where you're going is asking nothing from you.
Yeah.
You're going to a place where the phone is off. You're just, that's the same way I feel like on the treadmill or right before I work out. I'm like, this is my time and nobody's going to get me. And that's that. See how important it is to free yourself? Because I think we are capable of feeling that 60% of the day.
I agree. I agree.
No, I don't think any more than that on Earth, but I think you can have 60% of your day be like that stillness joy that you have walking to your Pilates class where you're like, nobody can touch me in this 10 minutes.
I'm going to leave us with that. Thank you so much, John, for your time.
Honda forever.
I am so happy we finally did this. And can we let everyone know where they can listen to?
Just big black delta, y'all. Spotify, Amazon. We're not. Don't give a shit. I just need you to love yourself. That's all I ask.
I encourage everyone to listen. It's worthwhile. And I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for listening. If you do like listening, it would mean the world to us if you could subscribe or review the podcast anywhere that you watch or listen to the podcast. It really helps with the algorithm to share this with the world. I want to give a special thank you to young Spielberg and Sarah Yarkin for their beautiful work on our opening jingle, Dana Boulos for her help with the beautiful art, and to all of you for tuning in and keeping this dream alive. If you want to hear certain topics or from certain guests, please feel free to email us. We really, really want to hear from you and see how we can best support you.